Hey guys, it's AwkwardSev. Today's video is going to be about Smash Ultimate Online and how its netcode works. How does Smash Ultimate's netcode really work? And why does it seem like you have so much input delay when both players are using LAN adapters and it seems like the connection should be fine? When playing online, information, aka packets, takes time to travel from one device to another, or one switch to another. But how long is this really? In any fighting game, the way the netcode works, the integrity of all inputs for each frame must be maintained. This means that for every single frame, for both players, there needs to be a list of inputs that were pressed or not pressed. For offline play, it's generally not an issue, because there's a stable connection between the wired or wireless controller direct to the console for both players. Now I say generally stable because my heart goes out to all the pro controller players that compete at majors. So also, I wanted to note that Smash Ultimate does have quite a bit of input delay even for offline play, of around 6 frames or 100 milliseconds. Shoutouts to Gigaboots for this image. This means Smash Ultimate Offline has the most delay of any Smash game. Now with online play, a few more things get thrown into the mix, because each player's inputs need to get put into packets and sent over the internet to the other player to get exchanged. This is because both systems in online play need to have 100% accurate, up-to-date information in order to maintain the integrity of the fighting game, in this case, Smash Ultimate. So we mentioned ping a little bit earlier, which is the round-trip time it takes to send a packet and get a response back. The one-way time is half of the ping. One-way time is just sending a packet from one place to another. So that means if my ping to another player is 20 milliseconds, the one-way time it takes for a packet just to go from me to them is only 10 milliseconds, or half of the ping. Since there are 16.6 milliseconds in a frame for any game running at 60 FPS, which Smash Ultimate does, that means my packet reaches them within one frame. Now you're saying, wait, Smash Ultimate has way more than one added frame of input delay, and you'd be right. Online fighting games in general will have a baseline amount of input delay to guard against poor connections. This baseline amount of input delay is in order to give packets enough time to travel from one player to the other. Many times, for a majority of fighting games, the added input delay is 2 frames, or around 33.2 milliseconds. This means my one-way packet time would need to be less than this in order for the game to run as intended and not have any stuttering. This means for many fighting games, my ping to the other player could be as high as 66 milliseconds, and I wouldn't have any issues. In addition to this, fighting game netcode will also protect against what's called packet loss. Packet loss is when a packet gets lost en route to the other player and never arrives. How does it do this? Well, by utilizing this 2-frame delay, not only do we send the current frame's input in the current packet, we can also send the previous frame's input in the current packet. So we have redundancy. One thing to note on Wi-Fi versus LAN is that it's only going to affect your packets within your household. Once your packets make it out on the internet, it doesn't matter if you use LAN or Wi-Fi to get them there. So coming back, why does it feel like Ultimate has so much more input delay online, even when the players have good connections to each other? Ultimate Online doesn't have a baseline of 2 frames for input delay. It has a baseline of at least 5 frames for input delay. Even if you're playing Wi-Fi against your neighbor, you still have 5 added frames of input delay. It seems Nintendo was so concerned with their worst case packet travel time and packet loss that they literally allow for up to 80 milliseconds one-way packet travel time and up to 4 lost packets before any stuttering will occur. They probably said, I want this player over here in the US on a Wi-Fi connection to be able to play with this player over here in Europe also on a Wi-Fi connection and have no stuttering. And that's going to be our baseline input delay for everyone. And the funny thing is, when designing netcode, your baseline doesn't need to cover your worst case. You may have noticed if you're playing someone online and there's more than normal input delay, that's because the netcode will adjust when 2 players' connections are poor and increase that delay to 6, 7, or even 8 frames. This means that Smash, just like most other fighting games, could have a baseline input delay of 2 frames and just increase if the connection's poor between 2 people. So now you may be wondering, if Nintendo has such a large baseline to cover packet loss and packet delay, why is there still stuttering between players? I hate to say it, but a majority of the time, the connection between the 2 players is usually just that bad. It simply means there's enough packet delay or packet loss such that the game can't compensate for it. And if the packets don't arrive and they don't have the data for that frame, the game has to stop and wait until that data arrives. These issues could be due to a player using Wi-Fi and there being interference with the Wi-Fi. It could be due to a player's ISP being unstable or being overloaded. It could simply be between the 2 players, the path that those packets have to take across the internet is not a good one and is prone to those packets getting lost. This means that you should quickly note, next time you're running a speed test to see who should get DQ'd in an online tournament, just looking at the speed test results and the ping is not the whole story. That's your ping to a server somewhere, not your ping to the other player. So remember, 5 frame baseline is 80 milliseconds one way, is 160 milliseconds ping. That means if either player does have a ping over 160 milliseconds, they're probably the issue. That also means that if both players are under 50 millisecond ping, which is only 25 milliseconds one way, they're well within that 5 frame or 80 millisecond window, and it's not clear who the problem is. And the only way to really know at that point is to run some kind of analysis that's looking at the connection of each player directly to each other. Now, this does exist. I've seen some TOs use it, and that is a much better indicator than having each player run an individual speed test. In addition to that, what you can also do is have each player do a lag test just within game with a third party and compare their connections to see if one of the players has an issue. So, Melee Rollback. It's all the hype right now. What makes it so much better than Ultimate Online? As we talked about, Ultimate Online waits 5 frames to get all the inputs from both players. How is Rollback different than that? So Melee Rollback does have 2 frames to allow packets to get from one player to the other. However, if a packet doesn't arrive in time, it will simply roll back and replay a situation based off the information arriving late. Here's an example of this. So this is from one of Axe's streams while playing Melee Rollback. As you can see, he's playing against the Pikachu, and when the Pikachu dips too low, actually touches the blast zone, and you can see the blast zone spike pop up just for a brief moment. You see that? One more time. You can see right here. The game saw Pikachu enter the blast zone, but the Pikachu actually hit jump before he hit the blast zone. Axe's game didn't know that, so it showed the blast zone. But later on, once Axe received those inputs that the Pikachu had hit jump and he's not in the blast zone, the game auto-corrected, and the Pikachu was able to recover as normal. So long story short, rollback netcode is incredibly complex, and to be able to program it into a game takes a lot of time and a lot of coding, even for AAA titles. So it's quite incredible that they have it for Melee. Now, most fighting games, including Ultimate, just use the simple delay-based model, which as we're seeing, is generally inferior to rollback. So hopefully in the future, more and more games will start utilizing rollback, although I don't have high hopes for Ultimate getting rollback anytime soon. So overall, I hope this gave you a clear understanding of how netcode works, so next time you're playing Wi-Fi or a Wi-Fi tournament, you're more informed. That's it for this video, guys. If you found value, please drop a like. Also consider subscribing if you want more similar content. If you ever want to ask any questions or just hang out, I do stream on Twitch at twitch.tv/ksev_7, Wednesdays and Thursdays at 6:30 p.m. and Saturdays at 1 p.m. Come hang out. See you later.
Good games, Jordan.